All right, I think I got something a little bit wrong here on the channel, and I'd like to clarify. And in this video, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to clear things up a little bit, and I'm going to give you some pretty honest advice for your photography and getting results and seeing progression in your work. So let's get into it. Okay, so what are we talking about? A couple of months ago, I did a Q&A on the channel. I had you guys put in questions and I went through and answered a whole lot in a row. Some of them I gave pretty broad stroke answers to. One of them in particular is what I want to talk about now. It was in regards to photography competitions, and the question was basically, do I think photography comps are beneficial? My broad stroke answer was more or less, no, I don't think they are for the majority of photographers. And I kind of left it there. I heard back from someone who's a client in regards to that, and this guy said that he kind of disagreed with my answer, and he spelled out why he disagreed, and it made me really rethink my answer. When I gave the answer of no, I don't think it's worthwhile, I really was envisioning a certain level of photographer. I was thinking of the beginners, people who had just been shooting a couple of years, and all I was thinking about was people handing over their hard-earned money to essentially not get a placing, not get any feedback, and more or less just get your feelings hurt and get discouraged. And when that discouragement comes, well, now the enjoyment for photography dwindles and it's just a downward spiral from there. And I'm talking from experience, because I remember when I first started entering a couple of awards, and yeah, I just didn't hear back. I just saw the bank account just get a bit smaller, and that was the end of it. And you know, in hindsight now, I can see it was just silly, because I was entering awards that other professionals all around the world were entering, and I'd maybe had been shooting for 6-12 months. I don't know, I can't remember now. But I just remember that sinking feeling that I got and being very discouraged. So when I answered recently, I guess I was more thinking of that level of photographer, that person who is like, you know, you're just getting into it, you're getting excited, you're starting to create some good images. I think you really need to look closely at the competitions that you're going to be entering. So my client here, who said that he enjoys entering competitions, his case was that he uses it as a benchmark by entering the same comp each year. And I think it's a local one to where he is. He can see his progression. It's pretty clear that if he wasn't placing and now he's placing and that he's getting better placings, then it's very obvious for him. He can see that, oh, cool, I'm doing something right. I'm moving in that right direction. I thought, you know what, that's fine. That's a really positive way to view it. So I think entering comps can be good for you. One, the comp needs to be reputable. It needs to be run by other professionals or reputable businesses who have, you know, photography at the core of who they are and what they do. Now, some competitions, because there's so many now, it's just not the case. You know, you might not be getting judged by other professional photographers. You might be handing over the rights to your images. There's lots of variables involved. You might not get any feedback or any critique, so on and so forth. So I would like to review my answer and say, I think competitions can be beneficial for sure, depending on what you're after and where you're at with your photography. Because even myself, I'll enter a couple of competitions each year, prestigious competitions that I look up to the people that run them. I think that these awards, if you make a placing or make an exhibition, you're getting your work out to a different audience. And if anything, it gives you an opportunity to showcase your photography and the subject matter that you're passionate about, to just get it out there to people that may not have the opportunity or have ever seen it before. So think about why you're entering. Now, if you want to be growing with your photography, if you want to be getting that progression and you're using competitions as a way to kind of gauge where you're at, I can't say that I still think that is the best and only way you should do it, for sure. First and foremost, the best person to judge your photography is you. It's actually by you looking back at your work and gauging is there progression. Now, the trick here though is to not do that on a weekly basis. We need to zoom out and look at that on a bigger scale, a bigger timeline. You need to be looking back 12 months and you will know then if there's any progression, hopefully. If you're not seeing results across 12 months, then we've got some work to do. But that is first and foremost going to give you a very solid gauge. You should be able to see, wow, look how far I've come, look how bad those images were 6 months ago, 12 months ago, etc. But you can't be doing that week in, week out, it's just not realistic. Just like if you were trying to lose weight, it's going to be small little steps. It's not going to feel like much at the time, for example, but if you zoom out, hopefully you should really see it. Like if someone hasn't seen you for a while, they go, wow, mate, you're looking great. Same with your photography. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Give yourself time first, okay? How do we make that progression though across that timeline? By getting out and actually doing photography. So if you're just sitting here watching me, watching all these other YouTube guys, week in and week out, awesome. But are you actually going out there and practicing? Are you putting in the hours to your craft? If you're not, we're not going to see the progression. There's no point entering these competitions if you're not actually going out there and pushing your craft and giving it your all. So that's another consideration. Get those hours up behind the lens in your processing as well. It's all going to add up. And then the last way I would say is by reaching out to a mentor. With competitions, there's a judging panel. Maybe on that judging panel, half of them or most of them, their images are not really the images that you aspire to create. So why do you need to get feedback from them? I'm not saying that's wrong to have that. You know, you can definitely, a professional can judge other categories and different styles, absolutely. I've judged awards myself, but you need to think about who would I be getting the feedback from? Does their opinion matter? Or would you rather go directly to the person or the artist who maybe you look up to, whose work you admire, and maybe just invest in learning from them directly and getting their individualized feedback instead of a judging panel? So it's just a different way to think about it. If you've been shooting for quite some time, you feel like you've pushed your craft to a certain level, and you want to see where you're at with your peers, you want to share your work with peers in a different audience, perfect, no worries. Good time to maybe think about entering some comps that have a good name and they stand for the right things. So lots of consideration. I hope that clears things up a little bit. Yeah, probably too much of a broad stroke answer there. And I'm doing the video because I had the client mention it and I've had another person mention it. And it just made me go, okay, I didn't clarify enough, considering the fact that I'll enter a couple of comps each year as well. Anyway, thanks for the opportunity to share that with you. I hope that maybe helps you think about your own photography as well and your progression and where you're at with it all. It's just very easy to plateau and just go through the motions and just keep going to the same locations, taking the same photos, coming online, watching the same videos over and over. That's not how we get progression. Progression is you going out, trying, and then learning from your mistakes. Then maybe reaching out to mentors and things like that, and just give it time. It just takes a while to progress and get better at what we're doing. And the longer you've been doing it, that growth rate, that progression rate really starts to slow down. So as I've said in other videos on here, enjoy the ride. The best growth is all gonna happen in those first few years of your photography. So make the most of that and enjoy that. All right, guys, that's enough. If you have any questions, leave them below. Thanks for hearing me out. Appreciate it.